Hello guys, I'm Manny K SoSo, the robot with Sadamo De Beers, and today this is what we're going to be building, a fancy autolathe. So then, let's get started. Alrighty guys, so this is everything you're going to be required to build today the autolathe. I'm going to need one stacker. I've got my autolathe. I've got 100 pieces of heavy cable here, but you might need a little bit less than that. You're going to need, as an optional, one kit area power controller if you want to be able to turn on and off the system with the switch. You're going to need 5 consoles, 2 of which are going to be hash displays, and then the other 3 are going to be small LED displays. You're going to need 2 hash display circuit boards. You're also going to need 2 IC housings, which is going to have the Autolathe control and the print success control. The 2 integrated circuit chips, they're going to go along with that. You're going to need 1 kit IO logic that is required, and 2 of them that are going to be optional. We've got 4 logic switches that are going to be required. 3 of them are going to be a dial. 1 of them is going to be an activate button. 2 of them will be optional. 1 of them is a lever that will open up the autolathe if you want to eject any of your materials. And the other one is a switch in case you want to tie that in with your power area controller and be able to turn off and on the power to the whole thing, so you can save some charge there. And then I've got a computer here and a IC editor chip for being able to write all the code that I need to. This isn't required in the final build, but it's there to make sure that you can put the code on there. And then we've also got some chutes here so that way we can pipe everything together. Alrighty, let's get to building. Alrighty, let's get to building. So I like to start with putting down my stacker. Just go ahead and put that right here. This stacker will be sure to export everything that we print. This stacker is required, obviously. We'll put our autolathe down, and just so we can make sure that this piping gets hooked up correctly, let's put a nice little chute over here, and we'll do a nice little corner chute to connect right there. Put that down right now, and let me get out the magic wand, and we'll build this autolathe really quickly. So the script will work with an Autolathe Mark 1. That is not a problem. In the tutorial that comes with the script, when you go to download it from the Steam Workshop, there is an instruction to tell you how to remove the advanced recipes from it. So that means the Autolathe Mark 2. If you see that there is an advanced version, it's marked as ADV with the hash, and you do not have the Autolathe Mark 2, it will not break the script. What will simply happen is that the last recipe that was as your choice on the dial, you'll see that it just won't update to the correct hash. So you'll still be able to print, it will still work fine, it's just that you won't be able to print that specific object. For this purpose, I'm going to upgrade it to the Mark II. And let's go ahead and get some other chutes in. Obviously, you can put your chutes any way that you want to. This is just my preferred method of doing the chutes. We'll have it come forward. And then we'll have it go down. We'll have it go to the nice bin. And obviously, you don't have to use a chute bin. You can use whatever you want to use. It's, there's nothing wrong with that. And add just that little bit of export so that way it comes out. So now we're going to move on to, we're going to place some temporary walls down. So I'm going to go over here, I'll place one little wall there. That's going to be for a power area controller. Again, this is an optional thing, so we're going to put that right there. We'll throw it back over there. And let's open it up with the crowbar. And just turn it on for right now. Obviously, there's no power running to it, so it's not going to do anything. And now let's go ahead and put some walls up. And these walls are going to be where the logic is housed, or where all the controls are housed. So we'll just put down 3 simple little walls there. I'll take my consoles. The first one over here is going to be just a regular console. The hash display will go in there. On this side, we'll put a little LED display. That's going to be our quantity. And we'll go back to the little console over here. another hash display, and then we'll get 2 more small LEDs, and that's going to be what's required for the print and what's left after the print, or what you're missing from the print. Alrighty, let's go ahead and do the logic switches. So we're going to need at least 3 dials. We'll put them up here to be nice and fancy. Over here we'll have a nice little button. This will be our activate button. And we'll add a lever here as an option, so that way we can eject all the items from the Autolathe itself. And over here on this side, let's add a nice little switch, so that way we can turn on and off the power area controller to the entire thing, so we can save just a little bit of power. Alrighty, let's go ahead and put down our I/O, or not the I/O logic. Let's do the IC housing first. We'll put one here and one here. Obviously, they don't need to go here. I just like putting them here. It makes it nice and fancy. As long as they're on the same network as all of these things, it will work just fine. Let's get and put the IC circuits in there, just so they're available. And then let's go ahead and get our I/O logic. And I'm going to put a logic writer here. This one is required for the script to work. It's going to read this button, and it's going to send an activate signal to here, so that way it starts going automatically. And I'm going to add an optional one, another logic writer. This one's going to read the lever here, and it's just going to tell it to write and tell it to open. This switch here, we're going to do go in here, go back here, and we're going to put another logic writer in. This one you're going to want always powered, so the power situation, make sure it comes before the power area controller. And we'll do that in just a second with the wiring. But that switch will turn on and off the power area controller, which will control power to this entire thing. Alrighty, so I think we're good to start wiring everything. So then let's go ahead and do some nice little wiring. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a nice 3-way junction. We're going to go up top. And just more wiring to make sure that everything's going to be hooked up together. And this one will come down with another 3-way. We'll come back through here, another 3-way that's going to go in here. And then we're just going to run this past here, go underneath there. We'll do another 3-way there, a 3-way there, and then we'll go up here because we want to connect all of these tools together. Oops, we want a 3-way, a 3-way, and another 3-way, and we'll wire that right down to there. Okay, so we're going to jump inside of here really quickly, and we're just going to wire this up really quick. Let me get my handy dandy wire cutters. And we want both of these ports to be accessible. So that one will hook up there. So that's all hooked up right there. And then we're just going to wire it in right to there to make sure that we have it going the correct way. Let's go ahead and remove some of these walls. Since we've already added the wiring to all of these things, they're no longer going to hinder us. So we can just get our nice little angle grinder and then just take them away for right now. Obviously, if I would have added, taken away those walls before I did all this wiring, all these things would fall off. Let's add the little hash displays before I forget about them. So that's most of the wiring done. Let's go over here and let's wire up some of our logic. So we'll do this. And some more 3-ways. Lots and lots of 3-ways in this. This one needs to be 4-way. Oh, let's go get some more cable. And this one's another 4-way. And this one is just a little corner piece. Another 3-way. 3-way. And this one's going to be corner piece. And this one's going to be corner piece. And then, since that one's right there, we'll just hook that one back up. We'll go over to this side, and let's hook up everything over here. So this is coming This is the power coming after this. So what we want to make sure is that it's not interfering with anything else. So we'll just do this, and then we'll come around. And then we'll do another three-way right here. And then we'll just hook it back up. Just like that. And since there is going to be power coming in from before this, which I'll use in an RTG in just a second, we're just going to hook this up just to the power on this one. So that way this one is always going. And then let's just get some power coming out of this way. And we'll just run out just a little bit of ways. So that's all the cable I need. Let's get an RTG just for some test power. And then we'll just turn on some stuff. We'll turn this on. We'll turn this on. We can turn these on. They're not going to do anything yet. Let's go ahead and put away my wire clippers. And get out my handy dandy one. And put some glass on there. So you can see that, you know, it's already started off. And that's fine. These ones are complaining about an error. We haven't set those up yet. And that's perfectly fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our labeler and we're going to start labeling some things. It's going to make it easier to find things on our list. So this first style, we're going to rename it to choice. And this is going to let us choose which item we're going to print. This style over here is going to be our tens. And basically this is going to be our 10 style. So whatever quantity there is, it's going to take this number and multiply it by 10. So that makes it easier to print, you know, per se 20 to 30 items. Instead of having you click this 20, 30 times, you just do this one twice. And then this third dial over here is going to be our ones. And that's just going to control our ones place. So you can print, you know, single digit things. And you can also combine it with the tens to get multiple numbers. This first LED display here, we're going to rename it to quantity. And what this quantity is going to do is it's going to read these two dials and give us the quantity number that we are wanting to print. And this quantity number is also what the stacker is going to be set to, and it will automatically stop the autolathe once it reaches that number. These two consoles you don't need to name. They're going to be pretty easy to set up. This next LED display is, we're going to call it required. This console here is going to display our ingots here in a bit, and then it will go through telling us how much is required based on the quantity that we've entered. If it says 0, this one will always be 0. And this last little LED display is going to be what's left after the print, and it's also going to be what is missing. So these two will turn red if for some reason you don't have enough, and this one will be a negative number showing you what the minimum requirement is. For our IC housings, we're just going to name this one IC Autolathe, as this one is going to control the autolathe itself, and this one's going to be our print success. Now this print success doesn't stop the autolathe from working at all. It does indeed keep it working. It just lets you know via the displays if you have enough. And we'll just turn these ones on just so they have power to them. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the computer going. I'll put that right there, open it up. I don't need these. Put the IC editor in there, get some cables, and let's wire it up really quickly so that way we can write everything to it. Okay, that's hooked up right now. Alrighty. And I can go ahead and turn on these logic circuits. They're not going to do anything for the moment. They'll probably complain about an error, including these logic writers. They'll complain. We could ignore that for right now. Let's go ahead and get a data card. If you spawn into human, you get one by default, but the Autolathe can print this. So we can see, we'll just put that in there in the side, and let's look for the Autolathe on this left hash display. So you can see it's displaying whatever hash is right here. So if I change it to something like that, you can see that one updates. And the script actually changes the hash on this machine. So the numbers, so this display isn't actually reading from this IC housing. It's actually just reading it from here. This second one, we're going to set it up to do the IC housing for the print success, as this one is going to show all the ingots that are required for the print, so I don't need that anymore. We'll turn this on, and let's start with the Autolathe. So the Autolathe one is empty. You'll click your library, and then we'll go over here and we'll look for the Autolathe script. So here it is. You'll go ahead and import it. I will leave the default options for right now. So here you can see that here are all the hashes that it puts in the stack. You can change this order, so at 0 it will always be steel frames. If for some reason the server resets or your world resets, it will automatically re-push these back to the correct stack number. So you only ever have to do this once and set them up once. So we'll just confirm that, and then we'll export it to the Autolathe. It will complain about the error because none of these are set up at all. So let's go ahead and go over to the print success, and we will look for the print success script in here. And there it is. And this one, you don't need to change anything in here. It will automatically work. So we'll export that to the print success, and you'll see it will also complain that it's not hooked up correctly. So let's go ahead and set everything up. Let's go over here to this little logic. What we want to read in this logic writer is we want to read this switch. So let's look for that switch. There's the switch, and we're going to be looking for that area power controller, and we want to control the on and off state. So right now in its default state, it is open. And you can see that it changes and toggles the power to everything. So you can see it just turned everything off. So this saves you power. So you're only ever working with this logic writer power. But we'll keep that on because we want to make sure that we're testing everything correctly and showing everything correctly. Let's do this logic writer. This logic writer is going to be reading our button. You can rename that to activate if you want, but you don't have to. So let's look for a nice little button on this one. And there's our button. And we want to go to the IC housing for the Autolathe. And what we're going to do is we're going to write to the setting. So the setting is going to be written to this IC housing, which will in turn activate the Autolathe. This logic writer here is going to be to open from the lever. So let's look for the lever on the end. So there you can see the lever, and we're going to go to the Autolathe, and we're going to set it to open. So if we just test that really quickly and we hit open, you can see that it opens on that one. So there we go on that. So now let's go ahead and get set up with the Autolathe. So let's go to the Autolathe for that one, and once it's displayed, this one is going to be the quantity display. Our choice, which we name choice. And there's choice. We need the tens place, and then we need the ones place. And then finally, we need the stacker, which you can rename, but you don't have to. The print success is also going to read the Autolathe. And then we're going to get the first display. This first display is going to be the required. So let's look for the required. So there it is. We're also going to be reading in the tens and the ones. And that's just so we can calculate the correct number that is required for the print. This D4 does not have anything hooked up. It may in the future. And this display 2 is going to be what is left/missing from it. So we'll look for that. And there it is. And you can see that it's automatically gone and showed a red, and that's just because we don't have any steel in here. So that is all the logic that is hooked up. So let's go ahead and let's make it a little bit fancier. Let's add some kit walls to it. I'll just do composite wall there, composite wall there. We'll go back and we will do the composite window right there for the moment. And then I'm going to adjust the number of increase. So there happens to be 47 items in the Autolathe currently. So I'm going to set this to 46 because 0 is indeed one of the numbers. This tens place, we're going to set it to 9, so I don't want any more than 100 items to be printed. And this ones place, we're going to set this to 10, and that will allow us to get up to 100 items. Obviously, you can set this higher if you want to, but I decided not to. So if we decide to go ahead and say 90, and then 100. So here you can see, it's going to be 100 items that it's going to print. It requires steel. It's going to require 200 ingots, and we're missing 200 ingots. So then let's go ahead and add some steel to it. So that way it won't complain. So there we go. We'll import that, and you can see it will go right in. And you can see that now our displays over here on the right have updated. So steel, we're still requiring the 200, but we're going to be left with 300 at the end. Obviously, that's not what I want to print at the moment, so we're going to decrease this down to 0. If you have it set to 0, it will print forever until you press the activate button again, or it runs out of materials. So let's go ahead and finish up fancying this place. I'm just going to get my handy dandy one. And then we'll go ahead and make this look fancy. We'll put some glass there. We'll put that there. We'll re-grab the walls. And I want to put the wall in front. This front one, I don't put glass on because then it makes it hard to access the dials. So, it looks pretty fancy now. So let's go ahead and let's print, let's just print two steel frames. So there we go. And you can see it activates, it's starting to print those steel frames. And you can see the stacker does get them, so you can see that it's ready to export them. And there's our 2 frames. Alrighty guys, that's everything for the build process and how it works. If you guys have any questions, make sure to comment and go to the Steam Workshop and make sure to subscribe to all these items. Thanks again.